taxes with credit, right? With bills of exchange. Is it really? Are you really paying taxes, or are you actually in a sophisticated transfer of debt that kind of represents illegitimacy with the name taxation on it, but it's not actually a taxation?
Right. You're just trying to be left alone. You don't actually understand.
The reason that they want credit, right, is because these instruments, in order to open an account with these instruments, you're required to give your slave number, right? Your social security number. And so, like, that's what they really want. They either want to tattoo this number on you or put a fucking microchip in your body because they know all your moves.
Well, it says the IRS accepts cash.
They have to. Of course, they have to. They have to. They don't have a choice.
I want to figure out where Georgia's not making it easy to see how they...
But Georgia is a captured state. If they don't accept dollars, okay?
Yeah. Can I make a payment with a credit card? I don't see anywhere that addresses cash. That might be a good thing or a bad thing. But I believe I know.
It's fine.
Is it a captured state because Atlanta hosts one of the regional Fed?
Well, that too. I mean, Jekyll Island is in Georgia, right?
Yes,
That's
it is.
correct.
Right off the coast. It's Atlanta. Yeah.
But yeah, the fact, I mean, I don't know if you've ever thought about that, Thomas, but like, you purchased a house on debt with credit, and then you pay property taxes with credit, and it's like, what do you actually own if you're constantly in debt?
I think I see what you're saying, because all of the payment information says, hey, send us your tax return, enclose a check or money order. It doesn't seem to offer an opportunity to tender cash.
Diego, I'm under no illusion that I don't own my home. I have a higher monthly cash flow.
Yeah. But here's what I'm trying to say. Let's just think about the logic here. What is a check? A check is a document, an instrument that is drafted based on what? Like, what is redeemable for that check?
Can I just interject? And I don't want to one-up it because I know it's like a minute conversation, but on the dollar it says God trust or trust God. So we know that it's all based off of essentially.
That's it. You're done. I'm just kidding. Come on.
No, I'm just trying.
Good to see you.
Hey,
good to see you, bro.
Good morning, gentlemen and ladies. I'm just trying to say, that God trust thing kind of supersedes the whole system, where it's like we know it's all a Ponzi scheme, and Joe Biden shuffling around. It's a house built on cards, but it is a house built on God trust. So from that perspective, I mean, that's kind of the perspective of every empire or civilization. In many ways it frees you from the moral quandaries, which is what's happening. There's no virtue, there's no morality, there's no integrity, there's no courage, there's just lies, deception, a mass communication hypnosis, and we all know that it's a house built on cards, and baby boomers know it, the world knows it, but again, because of the God trust, it does seem legalistic in the sense that if you create a land trust or a trust, for your estate, it's the ultimate troll, and it has worked brilliantly. And I just traveled to Salt Lake City, and I saw the Mormon Tabernacle, and I saw their giant scam over there. And if you don't think that the God scam ain't the best scam to get in, you don't know business, because business is communication.
What did they remove in 1963 from the money? They removed the words payable to bearer on demand. They removed the silver content from the coin, and they killed the American president.
Hold on, we have to understand, and I'm sure you do, that might have become necessary, and it's all steps down the path towards the central bank digital currency enabled by technology. You could argue the internet exists solely for that, to facilitate it. But the problems, they started, they're ancient. I mean, I think it ends with the Civil War, the experiment in constitutional government, because You listen to the fireside chat, Diego. Have you listened to the first fireside chat?
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's in the book. It's in the book I sent you.
Okay, so if you listen, I listened to the radio broadcast.
Yeah.
Listen to this. Listen to this madman literally demonizing saving your money. He's demonizing the idea that you would self-custody your money, your gold, your silver, your cash. He's demonizing it.
Right. You know what it does? What it does is given that, it's 1933 when this happens, it tells you something, it like makes you think about World War II in a completely different lens. Because on the one hand, this is a few years before World War II, they're taking control of the gold, but you know that wars have to be funded by bankers. So it's like, who actually, what is the grand scheme here? It's to take over the entire world and create a rogue state from which they can have essentially a final refuge for anyone that gets in trouble in any particular government. They can go and retire in Israel.
So if you go to Israel, let's say you're a scammer.
You're literally quoting Mein Kampf right now.
Well, they create an ethno-state. That's the grand goal of World War II.
Do you know what Hitler said about Israel?
What did he say?
He literally said that we understand why it is that the Zionist Jews are advocating for the Havara Agreement. Ultimately their goal is to create. He said ultimately their goal is not for them to have a homeland where they will all go and live. Ultimately, their objective is to create a place, a final refuge, in the event that they were found out. In the event that that they face discrimination or prosecution or persecution for their misdeeds, for their greed, for their usury. That's where they want to go to hide. That's all that it is. It isn't. And again, this is borne out by a documentary that was made by a young Israeli man called Defamation. I posted it in the chat. I know that no one has that kind of time. Kudos to Abby for watching it.
Don't you think?
And one of the most poignant moments was when this young Israeli man is talking to his grandmother who lives in Israel, and he says, tell me about anti-Semitism. Tell me about this hatred for the Jews. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, out in the world, in Europe and the United States, they all talk about how the Jews are hated and why. She's like, no, if they were hated, then why don't they come here? If a Jew is in America and he's being hated, he's being boycotted, he's being persecuted, why doesn't he come here? They don't come here because they don't care, because they want to be rich, because they enjoy the wealth. They love money more than they love their country, more than they love their people. They don't love anything more than money. They're mammonists. And there's an excerpt from Mein Kampf that's literally what you're saying, that Hitler is saying exactly this, like, hey, don't be fooled into believing that what's happening is that the Jewish people are just craving a little slice of life. They want a little bit of property, 40 acres and a mule, so they can start homesteading with some chickens and live peacefully with the rest of the world. No, that's not what they want. They want an excuse to create a get-out-of-jail-free card, and we know that that's exactly how Israel is used. My wife asked me, she's like, what is Israel's export? Like, what does Israel make? Like, what do they do? Like, we have all these countries in the world, and you can associate, like Ukraine with the black soil, the fertile region in Ukraine, the breadbasket of Europe. Look at the landmass encompassed by the borders of the contiguous Russian state. Look at the landmass of China, even Japan. All of these countries, they have exports and they engage in industry. What is the industry of Israel? The answer is smoke screens, illusions, because in reality, they have no interest in developing it. They have no interest in developing the state of Israel in a fashion that is appropriate for an independent sovereign nation state.
Right.
Because they are literally just a parasitical tick on the back of the civilized world. The state of Israel only exists to be a get-out-of-jail-free card, to be a palace, to be a country club.
You saw what they did to Nick Fuentes? The gay porn?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I was hoping that was real. Because I fucking hate Nick Fuentes, a little weenie.
Yeah, they pay people like Republicans to stream all day long and record everybody's conversation. I hope they pay well, though. John,
I'm surprised Republican didn't come in trying to hypnotize Diogenes with his CRT, BLM, LGBTQ.
I hope that Republican's apartment is just the office, and he actually has a much bigger place to actually sleep in.
This man owes the government tremendous sum of money. He should be advocating for a debt jubilee.
But he doesn't owe them any money. That's the thing. They won't accept any actual money. That's the big joke. He has to pay them debt. He has to accumulate debt in order to transfer the debt to them.
Right. Yeah. Because it is debt. It is central bank liability, as Karsten said.
Yeah. So it's an interesting. It's basically like you have to accumulate slave points.
I mean, so you could,
and then transfer it to the government.
Well, so depending on the way that it's actually construed, you know, you could argue unsuccessfully. You won't successfully argue any of this. And I think that it's naive of you, Diego, to believe that the Supreme Court cares. You know, that's allegedly. You tell me if this is true or not. I don't know, but allegedly Samuel Alito hung a flag upside down, a U.S. flag upside down after the 7-2 ruling by the Supreme Court that the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was in fact allowed to be funded directly by the Federal Reserve.
And then blamed it on his wife?
I don't know. You tell me.
Oh, yeah, you didn't see that? That he said Mrs. Alito was the one who put that flag up?
Blamed his wife?
Well, I mean, that's what the Jewish media claims he said.
That's funny. My wife, stupid wife, she's high on her fucking medication. She wasn't paying attention.
But it's funny when that story about that.
Alito wrote the dissent, right?
Oh yeah, I imagine. Yeah, he's pretty based. I'm not gonna say he's the most based.
And what he wrote in the dissent, and what he said in the dissent was effectively that the precedent being established here is that the power of the purse, which is granted solely to the Constitution, is being subverted, so that it will now be a legal precedent that any federal organization of any kind instituted by the executive branch can be funded by any other organization, which completely alters the landscape. And you know who created the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau?
No.
Obama, in his first term. Yeah. So, yeah, so you start looking into this, and you start to say, oh, holy shit, like the Supreme Court just ruled that there is a federal bureau that reports directly to the executive that is allowed to be directly funded by the Federal Reserve, which is a quasi-private, owned by shareholders, not answerable to the public institution with the power to issue money in infinite capacities, bounded by nothing. The Congress can't tell the Federal Reserve that it can't issue money. It can't. I didn't want to take that back. I don't know that. But you see the problem. Well, now the executive has unlimited power. And what balances the executive branch when it can have bureaus funded directly by an institution outside the control of Congress?
You're saying that credit agency is an executive branch agency?
Yeah. So the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
Okay, I'm looking that up.
Yep, it's nice, and it's got a old logo. It's got a government logo and a nice green hip logo.
So Diogenes, if I got ask a question, you're saying a lot of great stuff. I'm glad
you sound like yeah.
I sound like a what? I didn't hear you.
No, that's all right. Go.
No, it's a sub agency of the Federal Reserve.
We're the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the U.S. government agency dedicated to making sure you're treated fairly by banks, lenders, and other financial institutions. Where are you getting that it's a sub agency?
Well, I went to Wikipedia, but here's the point. right?
Well, no. Let's get to the bottom of this. This is important.
Yeah, let's get to the bottom of this. Fine. It says in 2010, Congress passed the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act. That's a congressional act that establishes all kinds of things, including
It gave Obama the power to create this.
Yeah. Harvard Law School professor was the drafter named Elizabeth Warren. Pocahontas.
Oh, fuck!
But I'm just looking here. Who gives them the power? It sounds to me, just based on what I'm reading here, it sounds like it's a Congress. You know, Congress has the power to establish agencies with congressional authority.
Okay, so Congress. No. So let me see.
Article 3, right, of the Constitution.
You know, I'm not contesting that. Okay, so this is the article: Supreme Court backs by CFPB funding. Hold on, this is all my tabs on the Exchange Stabilization Fund.
Ooh, I like this. Donald Trump amended it, though. Started taking away their power.
What did he do?
In 2018, he signed into law a congressional legislation that repealed the enforcement of automobile lending rules. I wonder if that was shooting across the bow, so to speak, and letting them know what's coming.
Okay, hold on. In June 2009, this is on the CFPB's website. In June, because I don't want to lose credibility here. In June 2009, President Obama proposed to address failures of consumer protection by establishing a new financial agency to focus directly on consumer protection. This new agency would heighten government accountability by consolidating in one place responsibilities that have been scattered across government. The agency would also have responsibility for supervising providers of consumer financial products. This is an institution, a bureau, that is necessary to properly institute central bank digital currencies. The agency would also have responsibility for I'm not reading that from their website. That's an interjection.
But Obama signed it into law. He didn't veto it, but it's a congressional.
Okay, no, but it's his proposal. It's saying Obama. Okay. It's literally saying Obama was directly responsible for it. It says June 2009, President Obama proposed the creation of this institution. So Congress goes along with it, fine. But now it's outside of Congress's control because now it's not funded by Congress. Like the Supreme Court had established again and again and again, had it not, that Congress effectively can just defund anything it doesn't support. Like if Congress decides the FBI is out of control, it can just defund it. Well, this precedent, the 7-2 precedent, am I wrong?
No. I just wanted to say here, though, that during Trump's reign, they established that borrowers cannot sue to recover things that they've lent unless the consumer consents.
Right, which makes sense. That's, I think, how most people understood the law to work in the first place. Like, unless you've agreed that is collateral, you can't lose it.
So, I mean, there seems to be some kind of power battle over this thing happening as we speak.
So what you were spot on with this is that fact, because one thing when you were mentioning the different things they could get away with, I wanted to add is that it's audit free, right? Just like the Vatican. I wanted to add the room. Have you ever heard of Operation Gladio? Because it ties into everything you're speaking about right now. Which Diego, when I first came to the room, Diego was speaking about how they would use the slave number to basically either chip you or do something else. I don't want to misquote you, but it's all kind of
I'm saying that because they don't accept dollar bills or the thing that dollar bills are redeemable for, which is gold and silver, they want a system that you have to have your slave number, which I call the Social Security number, attached to. They don't want anonymous payments, even for taxes, and that's a big deal. that I think a lot of people aren't aware. You know, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, there used to be this, there were people that trolled the IRS by coming with a bunch of pennies. You guys remember that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So they can't refuse that on a federal level, but apparently in essentially all the states of the union, you can, or the state can refuse a payment of taxation with legal tender, which it sounds crazy to me.
Well, we're getting carried away here, in that none of this is a materially important discussion if we haven't established what the proper response to the violations of the Constitution are. And we're at a point where collectively there is not consensus as to what the Constitution says and what it ought to say, and what role the Supreme Court has in ruling on the Constitution. Because all of this is a waste of time in trying to discuss the finer elements. No, you wait. All of it is a waste of time if we have not established some criteria whereby we conclude that we will not have justice. Now, it doesn't matter what the states will or won't do, what the federal government will or won't do, if it is not bound by law. So the discussion we're having should not be, how can we provide more evidence? Because I think we can't get past the point that the federal government is not bound by the Constitution. There's no binding. There's no accountability, right? If you're looking at a system and you're saying there's a human element, right? There's moral hazard in all things man undertakes, and how are we going to balance this? Well, the balance is we the people. And if you look at this equation and you see that it's not balanced, well, there's nothing else to be done but to balance the equation until the balance is achieved. Until the government exists in no more quantities with no more power than is adequately balanced by that of the people or the states, the national government, the state government, and the people. Until that balance is achieved, there's no other conversation to have. It doesn't, the only thing to be done here is for us to commit ourselves to what rules we think appropriate, and then to organize ourselves to attain that reality. The federal government is completely unbounded. The national government is completely unbounded.
Well, I was going to say, do you think that could happen without corruption? Because I completely agree with what you're saying, right? That we should kind of focus on balancing the equation. However, I feel like as long as a debt to a money ratio is involved, it's going to be kind of hard, right? Because even if you scrub out all the people that's corrupt in the government, that's taking the funding from these non-auditable entities, private corporations, or whatever you want to call them, it's going to be kind of difficult. But I completely agree. We should focus on that. The only thing I see standing in the way a little bit is the system of gaslighting that's been in effect for however many couple hundred years now, maybe even about.
I'm not quite sure. I think we're on. You have to understand the federal government as it exists is no longer accountable or answerable to the people. You will There's a guy on here, Lou likes to say, lawyers and hackers. Lawyers and hackers. That's not going to achieve a goddamn thing. There is not some secret state operatives working behind the scenes to restore integrity to the law in this country. The Q-tards who believe, Donald Trump is in control.
Q is a psyop to make white people look dumb.
Wait, hold on. Diogenes, because you brought this particular place up, are you aware of the news revolving this particular executive agency less than a week ago? Have you seen this?
What?
Right. Let me ask you this. Do you agree that Clarence Thomas is based?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that guy he never writes majority opinions, ever. And he just wrote one on this particular agency not more than 4 days ago. I posted it on the Telegram chat.
The majority opinion?
Yeah, this just happened. Which I was like,
I know this just happened. It was 7-2 decision. I read Alito's dissent and I agreed with it. And I did not realize Clarence Thomas had written the majority opinion.
Yeah, we should read this article. In
Well,
fact, I
first,
can be honest.
first, I'd like to make sure that we agree on what the CFPB is, and it seems to me to be a. So I think that while Congress may authorize the am I mistaken here in understanding that essentially the balance was supposed to be attained by Congress can defund any federal. The CFPB answers to the president, right? The Congress doesn't create organizations that answer to Congress. We agreed, right?
Yes.
Wait, Congress doesn't what?
Congress does not create national federal institutions that answer to Congress. That's impossible. It doesn't happen. It can't happen.
Agreed.
You mean like Wait. You're saying like the EPA doesn't answer to Congress?
No, I mean Congress can investigate it. Congress can condemn it. They can defund it. But
This
it
is a
doesn't
little
answer
bit.
to Congress.
I think it does answer to Congress because it's created under congressional authority. So
No, but it's congressional authority. Everything has to happen under congressional authority and be consistent with the Constitution. But having been so created, it is now answerable to the chain of command, which starts with the president at the top.
I don't believe that the president has the power to dismiss officers of a congressionally created agency. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm wrong on this. It's actually pretty complicated because you know that under administrative law, which is what these agencies follow, the way in which they create rules and regulations is kind of a complex thing. Sometimes they have the power of law, and sometimes they are just literally just opinion letters, like the bump stock thing. It's kind of complicated.
I got this book called Mass Communication Theory, Foundations, Ferment, and Future by Stanley Baran and Dennis Davis. It's something to use in colleges, but from like a technical perspective, to use these certain like terms and whatnot in this book, I was just in Salt Lake City and I saw the Federal Reserve branch of the San Francisco Federal Reserve in downtown Salt Lake City. So it's communication, and that's what the Federal Reserve employees are mostly engaging in, because we all know it's just a giant fucking clown show Ponzi scheme. So what are they really doing? They're doing storage, data analysis, but again, it's just a communication business. It's a paper business.
Well, money is free speech.
Exactly. The symbols on the dollars should be studied if you want a better understanding of the situation, which most people do not understand. The symbols on the dollars, again, are very important to study. I've spent quite a few years studying now Freemasonry, occult, esoteric philosophy, and I got to tell you, a lot of these people, they're not happy because they don't have that trust God trust concept built into their psyche.
So you got to understand, Diego, this CFPB is a terrible thing that should not exist in a free country.
My gut tells me you're correct, but it's been found by the Supreme Court to be 100% lawful under a Clarence Thomas majority opinion.
They weren't challenging the lawfulness. They were establishing the
funding structure.
There's not a constitutional challenge to the organization being funded directly by the Federal Reserve. In fact, according to Alito in his dissent, they're essentially establishing that funding is irrelevant. The source of funding is irrelevant. Any organization can be funded from anything. It doesn't matter. Which seems to me to contrast previous Supreme Court opinion that established that the power of the purse is an enforcement mechanism, the primary enforcement mechanism of Congress.
So
That they will not appropriate funds for agencies that have run out of control, and then that the agency will cease to exist. It will be starved of funds. If you establish that private institutions can fund federal, think about what's being established here. This is profoundly bad. This is like the worst thing that's happened. Look, you understand what's happening. The Supreme Court has just ruled that oligarchy is a permissible.
Dude, the worst thing that's happened this week is that Israel just killed the leader of a large nation with nuclear weapons. That's the worst thing that's happened this week.
We can only be so fortunate that they would conclude this, and my heart of hearts desperately hope that Ayatollah Khamenei will launch and extinguish Israel from the face of the fucking planet. I really do.
So, what you're saying there?
You see, hold on, I gotta interrupt, Many-Faced God.
You don't have to interrupt.
No, bro. I like listening to y'all because y'all saying a lot of like spot on stuff. That's funny. So go ahead. I don't mind.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go.
No, because what you were saying, the Diogenes, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. What you were saying with the with how bad it is for the Congress to kind of be funded by anything and then kind of say it doesn't matter is just like, that's what I'm saying with the gaslighting is like, what do you mean? Money is literally what controls everybody's life, right? Like it's life and death like hangs in that. So if you're saying you are a federal entity being funded by a private entity, that means the power is not in the federal entity's hands, it's in the private entity's hands. Right.
You're literally saying you're literally creating a legal precedent to essentially establish that federal institutions, national institutions with supreme authority over state institutions can be funded by Google. Google can essentially be responsible for the existence or non-existence of federal institutions, and obviously we understand that the paymaster is biblical. The paymaster is in control. I mean, this is literally paving the road legally for oligarchy.
But that's what they want. So what the
that's right. But they're right, and they're doing it. That's right, and they're doing it very obviously, right out in the open. And Clarence Thomas is on board.
Thing is, most of us don't pay attention to this article or the CFP, whatever you're speaking about. Most people don't pay attention to it. Like they rather be entertained. It's so sad because they've been rinsing and repeating this for all of history. Like this is
no wait. But the debate is not whether or not it's a constitutional agency. The debate that they adjudicated on is whether or not the method of funding is legal.
Right, and that's much more problematic. It's much more problematic that they established a much broader precedent there than if they had just simply ruled whether or not a bureau created by presidential decree could, essentially do whatever. Because neither of us knows precisely what authorities are contained within that organization, but challenging the constitutionality of their authority would be completely different. No, they've made a much broader ruling, which is that now the precedent is established. And I agree with Edwin Vieira here. Edwin Vieira and I agree wholeheartedly that, because the Supreme Court rules one way in one case, it should not set a precedent that now creates an obstacle for future challenges.
That's a legal road that the CFPB can bankroll its own agenda without any congressional control or oversight. That's his dissent.
Right.
But I bet you we should read what Thomas said.
Well, can you find it? I'm about to drive, but if you can find it, you should read it and you should listen. Hold on. But before you read it, let's be clear. As I interrupted you before to say, none of what Thomas said is relevant, because if you're listening to what Thomas, and I want to hear it, but if you're listening to what Thomas said in the hopes that you would be convinced that there is a constitutional premise under which this is appropriate, you'd be dead wrong to believe that the Constitution is a limiting actor in this drama between the people and the government.
Did he cut out?
Yeah.
Does anyone disagree with the motion that the Constitution is not limiting the government?
Your internet was chipping out for a bit.
Yeah,
all right, let me say it again. Does anyone disagree with the motion that the Constitution of the United States of America is not limiting the national government?
Listen to this. This is Alito.
Hold on. I want to hear what our voting is on this motion. Is there a dissent? Is someone dissenting on this motion? Does someone dissent?
No, I don't think we disagree.
I can't see my phone. Are we in assent? Do we concur? Are we unanimously in consent with the motion that for whatever else Alito might say, whatever else Clarence Thomas might say, whatever else anyone might say, the Constitution has provably not limited the government.
You see, I believe in the power of God, and that if we want to create thermonuclear war, we certainly can through hypnosis.
By creating a movie where you tell us that a Jewish guy invented it? Oppenheimer? That he has the power of the sun? It's under his control?
Well, that's a whole metaphor to Christ, and that is indeed the micro macro.
Republican, if you can't play along, you're going to get muted, kicked, okay?
Okay, I understand my role. I am in the media. I'm in the pictures business, so let me get back to my pictures business.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Thank you. Listen to your mommy. All right, Diego, go ahead. Let's hear what Alito had to say.
All right, Alito says, among other things, I'm going to cut it a little short, but he says, left with no analog in history, the government employs a divide and conquer strategy to defend the CFPB's funding scheme. It argues that even if no prior agency had a funding scheme with all of the features that this agency has, the funding schemes of other presumptively constitutional agencies contain one or more of the features found in the CFPB scheme. It then reasons that the combination of these features in the CFPB scheme must be constitutional as well. This argument founders for two reasons. First, the scheme includes an important feature never before seen. As explained, the CFPB's money does not come from Congress, from private recipients of its service, or from the private entities that it regulates. It does not even originate with another government agency. Instead, the CFPB gets its money via a three-step process. The Federal Reserve, banks earn money from the purchase and sale of securities, as well as from the fees they charge for providing services to depository institutions. The Federal Reserve banks then deliver the earnings to the Federal Reserve System. Finally, the CFPB requests an amount from the Federal Reserve Board. That feature of the CFPB scheme is entirely new. And I'm going to skip through here where he says a bunch of other stuff. He says, in sum, the CFPB's unprecedented combination of funding, features, affords it the very kind of financial independence that the Appropriations Clause was designed to prevent. It is not an exaggeration. Yeah. And the autonomy has real-world consequences. The CFPB is a powerful agency with the authority to impose substantive rules on a wide swath of industries.
Yep.
So, well, this, I'll tell you right now that the mistake, okay, that Alito is saying in his opinion, and this is what Edwin Vieira would say, is that their quote-unquote funding is not money at all.
Edwin Vieira would say, Edwin Vieira is my daddy.
I know, but I'm saying that he's misusing the word money here, Alito. He's saying they don't get their money from the people that they regulate. Well, wait a second. No government agency except for the IRS gets money at all. Right. Everybody gets essentially Federal Reserve, derivative.
Right. So all that you're pointing out is how deeply the rot has gotten off. How perversely we separated the Constitution and the real meaning of words from reality. It's clear that neither Alito nor Thomas, one writing in opposition, one writing in favor of, actually even understands what the fucking Constitution says or why it says what it says.
Well, it's like Republican says, if everybody calls it money, it becomes a hypnosis, and then people believe it is money, even though it's not money. If everybody says what the Federal Reserve produces is money, then I guess they're hypnotized into believing it. Even though the reality is most people, and I bet you Republican is one of them, has never touched real money. You've never touched the silver eagle.
You don't
No,
think he has
that's
some
not
silver?
true. I do collect, and
Yeah, come
I have
on.
gold and silver
He's
here.
got some silver.
I have ancient coins. I have a lot of American coins, but I have a lot of ancient Roman coins. I have a cool collection.
Hey, don't tell us. The government's gonna come for that shit when they foreclose on you.
You're on the list now, officially.
He's already on the list.
But of course, your collection of gold and silver, is that your Jewish side? Republican?
Yeah, he was clipping them, you know?
Yeah,
Oh, dude, wait. I want to tell you guys something. This is really important because I just found this out a couple of days ago thanks to my sister. Check this out. What is the first mention of money in the Bible, Diogenes?
I don't know.
The first mention in the entire Bible of money is in Genesis, and it involves the circumcision of a slave. If you don't find poetry there,
If I say that, please repeat your last.
the first mention of money involves Abraham's decision about circumcising a slave. There's a poetry there, man. Because if that's the truth, then money is the root of all evil.
Money is the root of all evil. Well, no. Love of money. Love of
The
money
love of
is the
it.
root
Yeah,
of
the
all
love of
evil.
it. Right.
Oh, well, let me again. Let's establish something, Diego. Whenever we have the benefit of your incisive and your mind here. Let's try to reach some kind of consensus about these things. We're concluding something very important when you point out that he's misusing money. He's misusing the word. You have a Supreme Court justice making a ruling who doesn't even understand money.
Right.
Like, if you want to understand how far we are from constitutionality, like if you want to try and have an argument about what should and should not be, whether or not the Constitution is limiting the government, look no further. Clearly, the Constitution doesn't mean a goddamn thing if the Supreme Court justices writing majority or minority opinions don't comprehend it.
But you just hit on something. What that means is that since Article 1 of the Constitution says that money must be gold and silver, that means that this opinion by Clarence Thomas and the majority is not valid because it's using the word money incorrectly or in a way that is a violation of the Constitution.
Well, we haven't read the majority opinion, so we don't know how he uses the word money. It very well may be that therein lies the rub.
I have it here. Hold on. Let me tell you the use of the word money here. Hold on. I'm sure it's wrong. I can already tell. Because
What if
Alito
it's 5D? What if it's 5? It could be 5D chess, though.
Okay,
What if
listen to this.
he avoids dealing with it? Go.
This is how it opens. The Constitution gives Congress control over the public. It says FISC, subject to the command that, quote, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriations made by law.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. What if Clarence is literally arguing that whatever the Federal Reserve remits to the CFPB is not money,
Right.
therefore it's not
Exactly.
violating the Constitution? What the fuck?
Yeah.
We're so fucked. We are so turbo fucked.
But wait, this is Article 1, Sections 9. Section 9, Clause 7. But what they're skipping over here is what is money, which is in Sections 8 and 10. Okay? So, they say here, Congress's statutory authorization allowing the Bureau to draw money from the earnings of the Federal Reserve System to carry out the Bureau's duties satisfies the appropriations clause. No, it cannot, because Articles 8 and 10, or Sections 8 and 10, specifically say that Federal Reserve notes are not money.
Yes, right.
In fact, the legal tender cases, Justice Shea said, they've never been held as anything other than securities, promises to pay money.
Right. So not money. Right. One thing is that there's not a transitive property. These things are not. Yeah, they can't be the same.
Right. And that's the thing is that, yeah.
So essentially, you're saying that they're not breaking the law, even though they are. Throughout.
Well, no, but the thing is they're not.
So hey, before we get ahead of ourselves, we can clearly see that neither the majority or the minority opinions properly interpret money, and in fact engage in the hypnosis, perpetuating the disconnection of the real written law from its practice.
The definition of a dollar is a matter of federal law.
Yes. What? How many grams? How many grams of silver?
It's changed over time. I don't remember, but yes.
Well, originally in the Constitution, it was specifically set out. It was not. It was so important. It was so important to the founding fathers, to the people responsible for this country, that they literally specified what it was. And to act any other way, which is what the majority of the public and public representatives do, is a profound ignorance that borders on malicious.
Yeah. So this isn't law.
Yep. So you're only pointing out the Constitution means nothing to these people.
He says, this is Justice Thomas, our Constitution gives Congress control over the public fisc, but it specifies that its control must be exercised in a specific manner. The Appropriations Clause commands that no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of the appropriations made by law. And for most federal agencies, Congress provides funding on an annual basis. This annual process forces them to regularly implore Congress to fund their operations for the next year. Blah, 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 blah. In this case, we must decide the narrow question of whether this funding mechanism complies with the Appropriations Clause. We hold that it does.
Are you suggesting that we reinitiate the Clown House
No.
Constitutional Convention?
This is wrong. I'll tell you why this is wrong. Because Articles Sections 8 and 10 state that it says that no state shall make anything but gold and silver a tender for payment. All right. Now the reason that this is important.
I don't even think there's a. I don't think it's wrong. Look, we can't have it both ways, right? We need to first establish what the Constitution says about money, and if we've done that, then they're not even talking about money.
Right, they're not talking about money, but here's what's important about this, right? This is very specific to the Federal Reserve. At this point, they're not even talking about Federal Reserve notes. They're talking about essentially balances on a ledger. Okay?
Yeah, digital. Yeah, they're talking exactly.
Just numbers. So here's the reason why the numbers cannot be the thing, all right? Because it says in Article 1, Section 8, that only Congress has the power to coin money, to regulate the value and set the weights and measures, right? Weights and measures. There's absolutely no grounds to establish the concept
for measuring. Digital.
I'm saying
things.
right. An intangible, immaterial abstraction, which is what a number is not money. You can't do that. There's no foundation for that. If you're setting the weights and measures, that implies that it has to be a physical thing. Or that doesn't imply it's essentially like explicit. It doesn't say, oh, I can just in my mind decide that something is money and say that number represents $1.
Right.
Like it doesn't work like that.
And there's more than just that. Like it was, if I understand correctly, and you're more familiar with the actual text of Article 1, they specifically, it's been established that abstractions from money are not money.
Right.
So regardless of what constitutes that abstraction, it is not in fact money. It is a bill of attainder. It is it's a check. It's not money.
Exactly.
It's a promise to pay.
And Edwin Vieira says something very important. When you look at the history of Congress, the fact that they essentially for 200 years never implied that an abstraction could be money makes it so that that's the law itself. In other words, if they refrain from doing something long enough, it becomes a de facto law that thing can't be money. Because it's evidence that they never intended that to be money.
But wait, here's a loophole though, right? Because we're talking about the Federal Reserve.
You gotta speak up. I got a lot of real noise.
I was saying, here's a loophole.
Imagine that I just called you a watermelon eating, natty
Chicken
ice
and waffles.
drinking, baby mama leaving. Now go, swallow your mic. Come on, yell at me.
So yeah, like I was saying, when it comes to the Federal Reserve note, right, it's technically not money, right? So when it comes to the law, these people are loophole finders, right? So essentially, through our consent, right, the backing of this federal note was supposedly by gold, right, which is, I believe, the tender, right, the weights and the measures that you were mentioning. So once we've consented to that, we essentially consented to this system of no money, if that makes sense.
But no, because these Federal Reserve notes are unconstitutional as well.
Based on what? Not if the people consent to it.
Well, I mean, if someone doesn't have standing, okay, or they don't complain, then I mean, it's not officially unconstitutional. That's for sure.
Essentially,
you have to have the highest appellate court actually enforce something. Okay. The problem is that no one has had to. You cut out.
God damn it! Go, just go.
No,
Yeah.
I hear you. Because
The
he's
problem
talking over you.
Okay, this is how it works. The problem with the lack of standing is that anyone who has ever been accused of doing something with something that is not money, but that the accusation says that it is money, it's never been fought before because no one sees it like that. See, it's like Republican says, it's a hypnosis. If everyone thinks that Federal Reserve notes are money, and you're accused of, for example, money laundering with Federal Reserve notes, then you're never going to actually fight it. And if your attorneys are of a particular persuasion,
Well, you're not gonna fight it on those grounds. You're not going to try and establish the court can, as it was discussed in Heller versus USA. Like, the court cannot rule on an argument that's not being made. So if you're not arguing that they're not money, then it can't rule on it. And it will have to take the facts as presented, right, in that same kind of way that it's a hypnosis.
Exactly.
Now, I would push back on Republicans saying, oh, it's hypnosis, because I do not believe that people in positions like Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito are under some hypnosis. I believe that they are very much aware of what the Constitution says, and they are actively compromised, that they are not interested in the necessary sacrifices to fight to return to constitutionally restricted government.
So here's where the mess comes, right? Because if we're saying, okay, they are using, or the people are using something that's not money, right? How can we argue it if that makes sense? So, for instance, like me and a lawyer, I'm paying the lawyer the same tender that's technically not money. The consent of us making that transaction alone nullifies the whole case.
No, it doesn't. I'll tell you because listen. The restriction.
Hey, hold on, Diego. Hold on. Many-faced God. You gotta scream, dude. You gotta scream. You gotta get the bass in your voice. You gotta be more aggressive because I gotta hear what you're saying.
I think it's only you. I think everybody else hears me.
It is only me, motherfucker. It is only me. It is. I admit it. I am well aware of this. I said I have road noise. Speak the fuck up or leave the fucking room.
All right, listen. Many-faced.
There it is.
The problem here is that Article 1, Sections 8 and 10 are a protection against tyranny for the populace. It's not the other way around. So an American citizen can tender payment in any form he likes.
Exactly, yes.
He can contract with anybody.
Yes, exactly. No one is going to interfere with you in trading Chuck E. Cheese tokens for trinkets at Chuck E. Cheese. No one is going to come and say, oh, if you signed a contract with Chuck E. Cheese and
you don't forfeit your constitutional rights by doing that.
So there's not, Diego, I get it.
So basically, if your constitutional rights are inalienable and granted by God Himself, they cannot be forfeited.
Right.
Okay.
So you could go to the Supreme Court and tell them, hey, I want this debt settled in legal tender, and Chuck E. Cheese would have to do it. But you won't do that.
The state can only enforce an equitable outcome using what they are granted power to do, which is legal tender. They can't. Exactly. They can, in certain circumstances, do what's called injunctive relief. Like, for example, they do that with property. If you bought a house and someone scammed you, you get that house. You don't get the money equivalent of the house. But generally speaking, when it comes to other things, the courts don't. They usually try to go for money damages.
Right. Legal tender is established because the discharging of debt is one of the essential components of government. That it has to arbitrate and resolve these contracts, and it has to do that in a way that is consistent across the entire nation, across the entire regulated entity. And it has to do it fairly and consistently. And so it has to establish what is it that will discharge debts. So everything has to have a dollar value. Everything has to be resolved into legal tender. But if you and somebody else get up on the stand and are arguing in front of the government, this, that, or the other, and you're not, no one is even bringing up whether or not what is being called money is money, the court can't rule on it.
Right. But that's about to change.
That's about to change. Good luck.
You'll see.
I hope I'll have time to prep some popcorn.
Does this have anything to do with Thomas Massey's most recent bill?
I thought you didn't like popcorn.
I don't like popcorn. I was going to say that, but I was like, nobody in here remembers that. I hate popcorn. I detest it.
I do.
I think Thomas Massey will be involved in it. Thomas.
Doubt it. You're wrong.
Listen,
Thomas Massey is Thomas Massey. You're not going to have any success.
Well, I have it on some authority. Vivek is involved.
Fuck off. That's just literally exactly the problem. Is people like Vivek are involved.
Well, who would you like to be involved?
First and foremost, you don't go into the den of vipers and start finding which vipers are going to help you. You just clean them out. You go, you're a viper, you die. You kill the vipers, and then you build from that base, that clean base. You don't start going, oh, you know what? Here's somebody who says things we want to hear. Let's go ahead and work with them. No, you find people with principles who stand on principles. I guarantee you, for every one thing Vivek is willing to argue in harmony with the Constitution, there's 10 others where he'll take advantage of you. It's come on, you can't get in bed with these people.
So you
Thomas
think
Massey's
Vivek?
not going to do anything.
What has Vivek done?
Well, for one thing, what hasn't he done? Taken up arms against an unconstitutional government. So there's that. It's a game. The people who are not outspoken and the necessary cleansing of the state and an altering or abolishing of the Constitution to reinstitute a law that does properly balance all the competing interests is no friend. It's just someone who's trying to say, well, hey, look, what kind of arguments can I use to advance my own personal agenda? And right now, it's fashionable for him to do that because he's going to capture a portion of the population who's frustrated and stressed out, and those are all grounded in economic concerns. And so people who really aren't going to listen to the rhetoric or understand it or try to understand it are going to say, yeah, that sounds right. I'll vote for Vivek. But Vivek has no interest in enforcing the Constitution.
Did he cut out?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, Dayasha needs to cut out.
He's saying that Vivek has no interest, but is he saying that he has any dirt on Vivek showing that he's not a patriot? I understand, Diogenes, if you think that Vivek is not good just because he's an Indian man. But let me tell you something. When he went on behalf of Donald Trump to India, and people would there was like an ocean of 1 billion Indians screaming Donald Trump's name. That was powerful stuff, man. Very powerful stuff. Am I in the Matrix? Or are you guys?
No, I hear you. I'm just waiting until he's back.
Rico, have you ever touched real money?
What do you define as real money, gold or silver?
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what the Constitution defines as real money.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, you have touched gold and silver, like coins, not just like some jewelry?
No. When I was like 10, 11, 12, there was a now defunct shopping mall. There was like a coin store that sold like old coins, and I actually used to go buy them.
Dude, I used to go buy them too, like 15 years ago, and it always made me uncomfortable that they wanted to get my fucking identification information for buying this stuff, you know?
They KYC gold and silver nowadays?
Dude, they've been KYCing gold and silver, at least in New York, for fucking forever.
That's so weird.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's my whole thing, is that it's like, do you think that the founders were too stupid to understand that there's no KYC in a dollar bill?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, now we can.
We have a problem. We've had this discussion, and it's been fun, and we've gone off into a very dangerous area where we've started to propose that the courts will provide a remedy.
Right.
You understand how dangerous that is? We can't allow ourselves to be lulled back into that false hope.
You're not necessarily wrong.
Not only am I not necessarily wrong, like I'm positively not wrong, and we must understand how large is the Kraken, how intimidating, imposing, and slowly and surely it has grasped everything around us. You will not find remedy in the courts.
But that's why I
told you. Boeing is out here literally killing whistleblowers.
Because it's an arm of the state.
It's an obvious arm of the state. They've been free from any kind of meaningful competition because they are essentially a component state. So you can't think you're going to make a better argument, right? You have to recognize that we're beyond arguments. We're beyond arguments.
Yeah, Boeing, that was crazy. Apparently, the helicopter the Iranian president was in had Boeing parts in it too, from what I've read.
We don't really need to worry about going into the weeds. We know they were assassinated. You know, it could were aligned with Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, with Israel, because it's always good to clean up your cabinet before you go to war. It could just be Mossad as retaliation for Iran's attacks. Either way, they're dead. It was an assassination. Let's move on to the more pressing issue, which is establishing the criteria and understanding you can only arguments are only useful when the person that you're arguing with is acting in good faith and can be trusted. The state cannot be trusted. The government cannot be trusted. The only authority you will recognize is that of violence. So give me that FBI jacket, nigga, because I'm a fucking fed.
We knew that.
Thanks.
No, Diogenes, there is this guy, I gotta look him up, this Green Beret guy that says that raids are imminent, especially in New York.
rates on
Yeah, you know, I don't know if you know this, Diego. I don't know if you know this. Special forces guys are pretty fucking dumb. Do you know that? I'm just saying. I'm asking you completely honestly, because it doesn't seem like you do. They're fucking dumb. They believe Q-tard. They've never ever achieved anything because they were intellectually capable. They've achieved everything because of their physicality. They're not smart people. They're not considerate people. They're not 5D chess players. They're fucking retards. They're trigger pullers.
Diego, I have been doing things in the background. Who is getting raided in New York?
Well, this guy says basically Alvin Bragg and all of his cronies. He said that they're going to do raids essentially identical to what you saw with Giuliani's apartment, Mar-a-Lago. It's all going to be live streamed. I don't know. I already understand that Diagee's going to say that sounds like some cute tart
So
shit.
I don't doubt. All of these things, are essentially going to happen regardless of how they're carried out in order to ensure Donald Trump's exculpation and lionization before his inauguration.
Go on.
The point is, you'd have to be missing part of your brain or not paid attention in any way to the legal proceedings against Donald Trump to think that this is an actual, honest-to-God, meaningful prosecution. This is all being done to exonerate him. All of these cases have been orchestrated to make him seem as better than he is, to make him palatable to the conservatives, to ensure his widespread support, because he is your next president. He's already been selected. That's already been baked into the fucking cake. Yeah, there could be a last-minute switch of the Democratic candidate. They say, Biden can't go on. It's going to be Newsom and Michelle Obama. Whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. That's just laying the groundwork for the next administration following the Trump administration.
Guy, I've heard your claim on this, that it's already bought and paid for, decided, and all that.
Yep. It is. And it's clear if you follow these legal proceedings that they are designed to fail. They have been literally designed to fail. And you're watching them. I saved two videos that I think are pertinent here as proof. CNN, in response to Michael Cohen's testimony, CNN was openly discussing how Michael Cohen, one of the star witnesses in this prosecution of Donald Trump for doing something that is a felony, that is would absolutely be a stain on its character if it was established beyond a reasonable doubt by conviction, and set a terrible precedent for that person to become president.
No, dude, they're going to convict him because
CNN is advertising that Michael Cohen did nothing but harm the prosecution.
That's true. That is true.
Why would CNN be doing that if they truly wanted to maintain their ideological commitment to the Biden administration? They would not.
No, they would. They would if they want you to think that when Donald gets convicted, that it was a just conviction because they saw through even the mistakes that the prosecution made. They're gonna go, look.
You can't make the act more complicated than the audience's comprehension.
Bro, I've been there. I know.
Honestly. Okay, so you understand, you cannot have that level of sophistication acting on the voters. You can't. It's too much. They are ensuring that middle of the road centrists like Evan, people like Evan, Megamind here, that people like Evan who do follow CNN, who do try to understand what's being said, will essentially listen and reach the only sane conclusion that Michael Cohen is lying, that Michael Cohen is a liar, He's literally an opportunist liar who did more wrong than Donald Trump did. That Stormy Daniels was a whore. That she literally slept with Donald Trump because she wanted to get paid. And that she got the raw end of the deal. She didn't get the kind of money she wanted, so she decided to create this false story about, and that's why CNN is airing it, because they need their voter base, their viewership, to reach the same conclusion. Donald Trump really didn't do anything we didn't already know Donald Trump did. It's not technically illegal for him to sleep with somebody because they want money from him. So they may have a bad taste in their mouth, but they'd have to admit, this is unfair and unjust prosecution. Like, how could a judge, how could a jury, how could the legal system that we rely on allow this case to go forward when the star witness is Stormy Daniels and Michael Cohen? And if you've heard what they had to say on the stand, you would think this entire prosecution is a miscarriage of justice.
Oh, have you seen the meme where I think Rico posted it, where they're like, listen, order, Mr. Trump, order in the court. You will respect the dignity of this court. Now bring in the porn star.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. There was, so what it was, more specifically, was jokes were being made because I don't know if it was the prosecution. I think no, it was not the prosecutor. Yeah, it was the prosecutors. The people who were trying to prosecute Donald Trump were trying to bring in extremely sordid details. And the defense was saying, like, we don't need to go into these kind of specific details. Like, that's disgusting and inappropriate. It has no bearing on the actual material facts of the case and the charges that are being brought against our client. And the judge was like, no, I'm going to allow it. And that was the joke, is like, you're saying that Trump needs to respect, like, the defense needs to respect the sanctity of the court. But the judge is like, yeah, let's hear explicitly detailed and description of how they sucked and fucked each other. Like, what? I gotta go. I'll be back in 10. Thanks, guys.
All right. So, John. Who's here?
What?
Abraham.
Hey, Diego, how you doing?
Ew, why are you talking like that?
This is my friend Abraham.
Yeah, hey, Diego.
I apologize. That was, it's natural. I can't help it.
No, you don't need to apologize, Abraham. You need to help back.
Do you agree with everything that Diogenes said?
Yeah.
I know you do, Rabbi. I'm asking Abraham.
Yeah, Abraham does.
You want to hear the song that we made yesterday?
Good. Show me.
Hold on, let me put my phone next to me. I think it's coming.
And he can have no seat. He's a big old nigga. And he's a big old fat because Oscar is a nigger faggot. Oscar is a nigger faggot. He's a nigger faggot. He's a nigger faggot. Hey, Oscar is a nigger faggot. Oscar is a nigger faggot. He's a nigger faggot. Nigga faggot. Hey, he's a big old nigga faggot. He's a long blow with big jeans. He's a Chinese. He's a big old fucking nigga chaser with a Chinese cruise. He get the cookies and the pussy all the time. He likes to go clean jazzy pussy all the time. He's jazzy cook, jazzy scream. I'm finished. Drop the mic.
Unfortunately, it was only the last minutes of his 10-minute song.
Oh my god.
Oscar is a nigga faggot. It's in my head the whole day.
Oh my goodness. tabs, and he's black build.
Oh, don't tell him that. So you hang out in Twitter Spaces now?
I popped in there. Honestly, I prefer Clubhouse. The way that the conversation sounded was just not conducive. I was in there with Jock and other people, and it wasn't like I didn't feel like I could get a word in.
Oh, why is that?
I don't know. It's just
Because of the technical issues, or is it because of the people?
a little bit of both. Like they all act differently than they do on this app.
The average room size is definitely bigger too, so you're competing against more people.
Yeah, what do you think, Thomas, about Twitter Spaces?
Well, Thomas is a big fan.
I enjoy that some of it feels like old school Clubhouse as far as some of the people. Like I missed Red Pill Gates, for example. Like he has a lot of high IQ takes, and like Chase is funny. So Jock, we know him as Jock. I keep saying Chase now. But yeah, so there's a lot of old, like, Vinny goes on there, so I enjoy that.
It seemed all kind of.
But why don't they come back over here? Why do they need a new app?
Yeah, I know. Now that this app is pretty good. Yeah. I guess because they want to build up Twitter.
Yeah, okay.
They just want to build up Twitter like as a place to have everything. Voice chats, video, podcasts, everything. It's not that bad. They just don't want to go through the same bullshit again, Abby.
What is the same bullshit?
They don't want to go through another wave of bannings and stuff. And there's also no sign, although obviously you and I know that.
Yeah, but if you get banned on Twitter, you lose your profile, you lose everything.
It's true, 100%. Plus, they also think that they're not being recorded and that their data isn't being sold.
Yeah,
I think that's exclusive to Clubhouse. Yeah, right.
No.
It's not. We know that.
No. I know that a lot of people got banned on Twitter because of the spaces. Because in spaces you can hear more and... Yeah, I will be careful on Twitter. If you like your profile, at least. Like, I've been banned on Twitter like 10 times already. So I stopped really caring about my profile, but...
Right.
Yeah, no, that's... Yeah, I used to have a large following and stuff, so first time when it happened, I was quite bitter about it, but if you don't care about your profile, okay, go on Twitter, but if you do, I will be careful.
Right. I agree.
Evan, I'm reading this stuff.
I used to care, and I got banned, so I don't care.
Diego, I sent you a meme on Telegram, and you didn't respond, and I thought you would like the meme. I'm very upset.
Wait. Oh, you just Oh man.
Come on, did I pick a good meme to send you, or I don't send you them all the time. I saw that and I immediately thought of you.
I love her. I do follow her. One of my accounts, she blocked one of my accounts because I gave her a compliment.
I mean, she's teaching good Christian girls how to be based on track lives.
No, Abby.
Her name's Abby?
Abby Shapiro. Abigail Shapiro.
Oh my gosh. Why do you give her a compliment?
Because I'm not her.
Because she's teaching degenerate Christian girls how to be based Orthodox Jewish.
Have you seen the
She is not a based Orthodox Jewish girl. Come on. If she was, she wouldn't be on the internet. She wouldn't have a fucking cell phone.
Well, somebody's got to teach them, right? I mean,
Oh my god.
I'm kidding. I'm obviously trolling here. I love modern women.
Totally.
And they look
he or she is
I have a
says Arnold.
sticker for that.
Evan, would you, Evan, before she had kids, would you?
Would I what?
He would. Have you seen? You have seen his
Would you wipe her up?
ex-girlfriend. You have seen his ex-girlfriend.
If I wasn't in a relationship now.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's a trap.
Actually,
Don't say.
I don't know. Maybe. I'd have to say maybe. But she's. I think she's attractive. Like that's for sure. But
Diego, I
was actually just thinking about this because my mom is a widow and she's been trying to start dating again.
Why are you polarizing your mom with Abby Shapiro?
I'm saying. Okay, I'm saying that my mom's been talking to me about kind of like dating and stuff. She's saying that like it's kind of weird because she meets a lot of the guys that are like Trump guys, and like she doesn't really know how to like feel about that. And I was thinking about personally like what would be like politically like a deal breaker for me, and that's why I thought of that. You mentioned Abigail Shapiro. She's like pretty conservative, but like she's probably not like a super hardcore like mega person. If I had to guess.
No, she's not. I don't
like her content isn't even.
You would know it.
Like her content's like almost exclusively like socially conservative, right?
Right.
People forget that Ben Shapiro was an ever Trumper.
Yeah, I know. I know. That's like I liked him. I used to be a Ben Shapiro enjoyer, and I lost a lot of respect for him because like you can't come at Trump that hard and then just like totally like flip around on it. I just feel like he still doesn't like him. He just like says it because there's no way you can be like a successful conservative commentator today and not be like pro-Trump.
That's the correct assessment.
Yeah, it's too big of a percent to just like turn away from your show.
So I haven't read the document now. I would say it's about like that there was no substantial evidence of fraud. That's what I got from it. So it's just basically saying there was no fraud during the elections, especially during 2020 presidential election results.
Yeah, I think more,
especially with the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. The election was fairly administered by trained professionals.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate assessment of the document. I think what the document more shows, or it shows that, and then it also shows that the claims that like all of the lawsuits were dismissed on standing, or majority of them were, is bullshit. Like the idea that people say is that these claims were not fairly heard in court, when the reality is they were heard, evidence was presented, or they weren't presented, and they didn't want to present evidence, and they just withdrew their claims voluntarily. But courts did in fact examine the evidence and examine the merits. And
but this is just one source.
Yeah. No, but you can see all of the sources are like. I see the citations. Yeah, and it's I think in terms of sources, it being, like I said, it's conservative, like lifelong Republican lawyers wrote the report, and then the report was co-signed by several Republican judges. Former Bush, like people who have a lot of like Republican cred, like these people cannot be accused of being like Democrat shills, which is why I think the document is like powerful, and it's incredibly well cited. I think.
Okay, but I'm not gonna read the whole document. I read the pages that you told me to read.
You get the idea. Like it's very repetitive. It's like you read the table, and it's like. Plaintiff claimed that the machine did this, and this, and then it was the court examined this, determined there was not sufficient evidence, and the claim was dismissed. You know what I mean? It's like it. You could read the whole thing, but it's just basically more of that.
All right.
Some of it's pretty funny, though. I will say. Also, how many of the claims were withdrawn voluntarily? Where like they make a claim And then the court is like, all right, would you like to present evidence to support your claim? And they're like, no, we withdraw the claim. We're talking about the lost, not stolen report or document, whatever you want to call it, which was basically a analysis of every single one of the election fraud court cases. This analysis was done by Republican lawyers who believed the election was not stolen. They just summarize all of the cases and all of the claims made in all of the cases and show how they were handled.
What cases?
The 2020 election fraud cases.
Yes.
Because people like to say that they were dismissed on standing. And very, very few of them were dismissed on standing. The vast majority of them were dismissed on the merits, on an evidentiary basis, and so many of them were also withdrawn voluntarily by the Trump team.
The thing is, Evan, that
it's all corrupt and no one can be trusted. It's also
it's like, I mean, yeah, I hate to be that guy, but I am that guy. What you're allowed to say in court is extremely important, because if you are gagged from saying something, the jury only knows, the reality for the jury is whatever they're exposed to.
But many of them declined to even present evidence. When asked to present evidence, they just withdrew their claims. I don't know. I feel like to me, this kind of feels like, oh, we don't like the result of these, so we're going to discredit the entire legal system. Whereas if Republicans were smart, they would have done what Barr was trying to do. But Trump was too busy with other shit. Barr was like, hey, Democrats are changing election laws to make it easier to vote during COVID. We should be challenging these in court. These are very likely to help Democrats. And Trump basically had no interest in doing that. That's the intelligent Republican position on this. But instead, we're talking about voting machines, switching numbers, and ballots and ballot stuffing and all these things, which there's no evidence for.
Yeah.
And then, okay, actually, it was 2,000 mules, and basically everything was, that was all pretty widely discredited. I mean, the main things that none of these were presented in court. I'll share the document they shared with Abby, which was written by Republican lawyers, and it goes over every single one of the court cases.
And in the state of Pennsylvania, Benford's law, which is something actually that is it's statistically proven to detect fraud in any usually the tax, what the hell's the name of it? A forensic accountant will use this to detect cookbooks, for example.
I don't know about those. I'll look into it.
I'll happily provide you. There's actually a forensic accountant in New Jersey who does an analysis. He reshares and does an analysis and actually detects it live in real time that you can view with your own eyes.
I wonder if this, I don't remember this showing up in the, and this was, you would just say they didn't bring this. Okay, so I guess here's
I think Trump has shady lawyers, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think part of the reason Trump has shady lawyers is he likes to lawyer shop for people that he thinks will deliver the strategies that he wants. It's part of him, and a lot of lawyers are like, you're asking me. No, but that's the bill that he's clearly not smarter than them, because Rico just said he had shady lawyers.
Wait. Well, I actually the shady lawyers, but Alina Hava and all the Charlie's Angel that they are very good lawyers.
Why are they losing everything? Are they?
It's New York. You have no idea.
No, she has no. She doesn't even understand the rules of evidence. Did you not see the entire thing?
No. Evan, you can't convince that judge to let you bring that evidence in. It doesn't go in. It doesn't mean that you're incompetent. You don't know.
It actually seemed like she was. I remember. I need to find the back and forth between the. I need to find the back and forth between the judge and her regarding rules of evidence, where she needed to be constantly reminded the rules of evidence. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Bro, if you,
what was it called?
Do you know what authentication is?
Yeah.
That's part of the rules of evidence, isn't it?
I mean, one of the things is that you cannot just, without permission, introduce new evidence during the case.
That's not true. Rebuttal. If you open the door, if the witness opens the door, then yeah, you can.
Are you a lawyer? You're not a lawyer.
I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on TV.
I've seen analysis from lawyers that back and forth between the judge and Hava make it very clear that she wasn't understanding the rules of evidence and she needed to be constantly reminded of the rules of evidence.
I'm telling you right now, this is how it works with these people. They have a script. Alina Hava reads questions from a script during cross-examination. So it's like, she doesn't understand the rules. What you're saying is that the entire law firm doesn't understand the rules. And they're all stupid. Like, they can't, that's not possible. It's just not possible.
Do you know anything about her law firm?
No, I honestly don't.
Her law firm is a joke. It doesn't even represent a particular type of law. Generally, this is considered you're a marketing guy, Diego. You know that specialization is a thing. That if you want the best personal injury lawyers, you're going to want a firm that specializes in personal injury and does mostly personal injury cases, right? But yes, in theory, her firm does not specialize in anything besides she was the one who was willing to just defend Trump the hardest, particularly in the way that Trump wanted to be defended. He's supposedly a nightmare to work with. I mean, why do you think all of these lawyers keep leaving him? I mean, it's just crazy how the man can do no wrong. I mean, he just it's always everybody else's fault. That's not a sign of a good manager, Diego. That'll get you fired from any job. If you're low star, you're like, all of my subordinates just suck. There's nothing I can do about it, though, even though I hired them.
I think that he's surrounded by people that are trying to sabotage his future.
But he's taking these people. He's why do you think that is? That there's so many people who are supposedly trying to sabotage him that he literally cannot find anyone. Where he just has to keep fighting.
This country is falling. This country full of cucks, dude.
This doesn't sound ridiculous to you. This doesn't sound ridiculous to you. It really doesn't. I just
because I know how
said why can't you think you should be able to find good lawyers, right? You're just saying every one of them is just so corrupt.
No, I'm saying no. It's more complicated than that. This is how it works. They bring an action against you. Okay, Alvin Bragg brings an action against you, and he hits you with discovery that is probably in the hundreds of terabytes. Okay, it's more than any law firm in the world, like the largest law firms could ever handle. You couldn't have Perkins Coie, with 3,000 attorneys, go through all those documents and understand all the connections that are potentially going to be made. Then you get to trial, okay? And the night before they're going to present their first witness, you actually are told what exhibits are going to be shown. So now at this point, you've got your team. Perkins Coie has its other 2,900 lawyers working on something else, okay? And the night before, you have to basically spend a sleepless night figuring out how to defend yourself against this particular piece of evidence, which, by the way, they blindsided you on. That's how it actually goes down. Evidence is fucking war. So then, now you've got all your attorneys, and they haven't slept, right? Now it's 10
to Trumpers attorneys, but I do know that this phenomenon went viral. Like,
what's it called? What's it called?
Benford's Law.
Benford's. I feel like I've heard of this.
I can provide. There's actually a YouTube video of this forensic CPA in New Jersey that just literally screen shares and does it. Robert Cino.
That's another thing too. Another thing, and I know you're gonna fucking hate this one, Evan, but I was just looking at your full username is now Kevin Cohane, and there's a lot of hold on, this is really important. All right, when did Mr. Trump's trial start? Because I know very well exactly when it started because I thought that was fucking bizarre. It started on Passover, dude. So the guy that's trying him, and his attorney, Mr. Blanche, are not Jews, according to the way that this whole thing is going down, right? Yeah, you know that there are more Jews in New York than in the entire state of Israel, right?
Okay, so
that's bizarre. Now you have a judge, a prosecutor, and a defense attorney who aren't Jewish in New York, all right? That's already, like, statistically impossible, all right? But that's how it's going down. And what I'm trying to say to you is, there's a lot of voodoo, dude. There's a lot of fucking spiritual warfare going on, too. That's why Trump surrounded himself with these women. Because he needed all the spiritual power he could get.
Yeah, he loves women.
I don't know, no. It's because it's a fucking religious war, too, dude. There's the facts, and then there's the unspoken energies that go on. You don't believe in any of this. Of course you don't.
So, Rico, so I just read a Reuters article about Benford's Law. And they saw comments from Theodore. I know we can only trust Trump himself and like people who happen to agree with me. I'm just going to present this. So Theodore P. Hill, Professor Emeritus of Mathematics at Georgia Tech Atlanta, cautioned that regardless of the distribution covered, the applications of Benford's Law would not provide definitive evidence that fraud took place. First, this is quoting him. I'd like to stress that Benford's Law cannot be used to prove fraud. It is only a red flag test that can reach doubts. E.g., the IRS has been using it for decades to ferret out fraudsters, but only by identifying suspicious entries, at which time they put auditors to work on hard evidence. Whether or not a data set follows BL proves nothing. So, Walter Levine, professor of the Department of Political Science and Department of Statistics at the University of Michigan, authored a December 2006 article around the application of Benford's Law to U.S. presidential election results. The article suggested that some limitations of the process, but said in the abstract, the test is worth taking seriously at a statistical level for election fraud. Nonetheless, the article also said, in discussion, in any case, a 2BL test on its own should not be considered proof either that election fraud has occurred or that an election was clean. So yeah, it seems like a lot of people are saying that like it could maybe raise red flags, but at that point, that's where you would like investigate it. Like it certainly doesn't prove fraud. It's like or proof that an election was clean. Like if an election follows the law, that doesn't mean that there wasn't fraud. So I don't know. It just to me it seems kind of ridiculous. You had like 60 of these court cases. You had 60 of these court cases where they had opportunities to present the evidence, and the vast majority of it was, they got something like 100 votes added to Trump in Pennsylvania or something like that, very insignificant amount. It's just, I don't know how it doesn't make you think that, there's 60 cases, like 60 court cases, they presented their evidence. And
hey, what's up, everybody?
So,
Kevin. So, Kevin, guess what?
But
I just moved to Old City.
oh shit. Nice. How you like it?
Yeah, if you ever want to hang out, I'm in like the nicest neighborhood now in Old City.
Congratulations. You get a promotion or something?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, that's fantastic. Old City is beautiful.
Yeah,
It reminds me a lot of like historic Boston, which I guess would make sense just because they were like built around similar times. Where like you don't have to tell me more specifically
second line.
Second line.
Yeah.
Nice, cool.
Yeah, but
Actually, you agree on the new place. What?
would you agree that a trial is a ritual?
Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe in like a. Okay, well, actually, let me just. Okay,
I think war is
definitely a ritual.
war is definitely a
So, I mean, real quick, I posted the video of Robert Benavides just sharing actually performing Benford's Law on the county election results. If you care to see it, I guess,
What county?
In the day,
What county was it?
it was all the counties of the state of Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Evan, I don't know how you can't agree that a trial is a ritual to establish that when a person is put away, that it was legitimate, it was presided over by many witnesses, and the battle of the spell casting was won by one side.
So the definition of a ritual is a religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. I think that a trial fits that criteria. I think it's solemn. Is it a ceremony? I think.
Well, it was. You used to put your hand on the Bible and say, "I do solemnly swear that the testimony I will give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God."
A ceremony, right? Formal event or set of acts that are often traditional or religious, performed at a formal occasion to recognize an important event. So I think that a trial could be considered a ritual, sure.
Right, and that's why I'm saying when you dismiss that whole spiritual battleground thing, you're missing a whole element of the way.
I don't think the reasons why I think it's a ritual aren't because it's spiritual. It says a religious or solemn. I think you can consider it solemn, right? Like it's very serious in the courtroom. You're not supposed to act inappropriately. There's expectations of how you conduct yourself. It's a ceremony. It's considered an important event. It's formal. People are expected to dress formally and performing actions that according to a prescribed order. It's very, very thorough of when you're allowed to present it. So I don't think the spiritual thing is particularly relevant to whether or not it's a ritual.
Certain things are said in a robotic way, kind of like the way our society here on Clubhouse chants. What the hell's it? I don't know the LGBT. Exactly. Yeah. It's that hypnotic thing, dude. That's what the prosecution does. They speak in a hypnosis.
Oh, communication.
Why are you?
There's okay. This is very bizarre. But you do you.
I hate that I'm starting to sound like Edmund. I really hate that.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's like this is how any.
But it's true, dude.
But this is like how any formal
Evan, the stories are true. All of it.
Like even if you're at like an internal corporate governance meeting, there's rules of procedure where
Robert's
it's like
Rules of Order.
What?
No, they don't follow Robert's rules in the court. But it is similar, yes. But here's the point. What I'm saying to you, Evan, is that you're like Han Solo, right? You're like, I don't believe in that magical. Yeah, you don't believe in that magical, superstitious hocus pocus, right? But what I'm saying to you is that the whole time that you're in there, and I can't believe that I sound like a Republican here. They're doing abracadabra, abracadabra, abracadabra over and over again, dude. And what I need you to do is I need you to come in, join the team, come in for the big win, and say, let's get out of here, kids, so I can shoot that torpedo through that hole and destroy the Death Star.
Okay,
even if you don't believe in the Force.
What's the Death Star in this situation?
The whole court system in New York. New York falls.
Not the court system in
No,
the world,
well,
though, right?
there's nothing more corrupt than New York.
The Southern District of New York is the most important jurisdiction. It's a big country.
Yeah, if you collapse that, dude, the whole system collapses. Falls. New York falls. The rest of them fall like fucking dominoes.
Okay, so it's bad because it's a ritual and need to destroy the ritual Death Star.
No, the ritual is created, it exists as good, but the whole thing is hijacked, and the priest or priestess that's presiding over these things are not the correct one.
I think that, yeah, this,
You're laughing.
Just because I was actually just talking about this with other people yesterday. The main issue that I think with, I guess the kinds of thinking that a lot of people tend to engage with is that instead of analyzing, the ways in which incentives are responsible for how people act and like getting real into like the nuance of laws and procedures and regulation, instead you like identify the people at the top as being bad and say, okay, well, so replace the bad people with good people, and then everybody else will fall into place. And I think that it's very rarely does that work.
It's not. No. It's not just. Yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying. It's not just about replacing the people, because, as you know, as an anarcho-capitalist, I would tell you that if you put angels in these positions of power, and I specifically mean politics, not so much the court, but the court has a lot of power too, it would still be a problem. Like if you have a judge who's paid for with taxes presiding over a case against a private individual known as Donald Trump, and adjudicating with the other side being the prosecution, which is paid for with the same taxes. There's bias there. Right? You understand the conflict of interest. I mean, it's like if your mom was presiding over a complaint that happened against you. Right? Like, that's not fair. We need someone who's impartial.
You think anyone can be truly impartial?
No, I don't. But I mean, you can start by not having the two entities that represent the state be in the courtroom, and then the other guy be the odd man out. Like, that's ridiculous. And you can try. What about another thing? What about a jury of your peers? Right? I mean, Donald Trump's peers are not exactly people that, like, what do they say? A bunch of people that work like blue collar work are on there. Right? He's a white collar guy. No. I don't know. It's like Evan saying, well, do you really believe in impartial jurors? And the guy say no. Then he goes like, well, then any juror's as good as the next one. It's like, oh my god.
No, that's a fallacy. It seems to me like a lot of this isn't.
Get out, bitch! Bitch, be gone! And he's gone. I'm out here red-pilling people. I just spoke to some people, potential clients of mine, and we just got all political. And they were like, man, this guy gets it. I'm like, I fucking get it. I just converted them from Trump absolutists to Trump ain't gonna be able to fix this.
Wait, are you and Evan in some kind of beef?
Yeah, Evan can't stand me because I recognize his substance, his essence.
I mean, God, he got rid of the fucking.
That bitch on him or whatever. No, he talks because he wants to hear himself talk.
Maybe into that. Fucking autistic, fucking Rabbi Junior, fucking autistic.
Rabbi Junior. Oh, nigga.
I should Diego when he did that.
I was saying that, the courtroom is a ritual. Okay? And there's a high priestess or high priest residing over it. And they wear black robes, and like one whoever does the best spell casting.
If I hear you say Black Cubes of Saturn, I'm going to stop listening.
No.
Black.
No. Actually, funny enough, I just found out that my family comes from a town called Black Rock, but that's another story. What was I saying? Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Diogenes, but as you know, when you try a case in New York, you typically have Jewish attorneys on either side, right? With a Jewish judge. You know how this works.
Yeah, I get how this works. And
wait, but Trump's case started on Passover, and neither the judge, the prosecutor, nor his attorneys are Jewish.
I promise you that this case is literally one of many cases has been constructed with client patsies fully convinced of their moral superiority and the rightness of their actions, fully convinced of their agency, wholly enthralled to a system that will systemically destroy the possibility of conviction slowly enough for the public to follow along and begin to root for Donald John Trump, where before they found themselves to be contemned. See, the left hates Donald John Trump because they hate to face the reality that this is what they've reduced politics to. Because it was the left that reduced politics to voting for people like Trump. Charlatans, liars, hucksters, demagogues. Men with no integrity. Men with no fidelity. Men who believe consent is the only thing that matters. The left wanted to kill the Lord Jesus Christ, and now they're terrified of the consequences. But they will come to love Donald John Trump. They will come to recognize that Donald John Trump was a lifelong Democrat for a reason. They will come to understand that Donald John Trump will not prevent them from engaging in the degeneracy of which they've become reliant. Their homosexual orgies, their profligate drug abuse, their avoidance of responsibility. He will encourage all of this. And he will preside over the Third World War and the central bank digital currency.
I don't know, man.
I do. That's why I'm telling you, because you don't know. I'm helping you out. You're welcome.
All I'm saying is, so you don't agree that the reason why he surrounded himself with female attorneys is because he needed some strong spiritual energy.
That's exactly right. He surrounded himself with female attorneys because he knows that that's going to play well to his base. His base already knows that he's innocent. You know, the base is already well familiar with the facts of the case. You know, a lot of people are trying to say...
You do agree he's an innocent.
Obviously, he's fucking innocent. Just like I said, Harvey Weinstein was innocent. And now courts are agreeing that Harvey Weinstein was innocent. Holy shit. I said from the very beginning, Harvey Weinstein is only being maligned because it is politically expedient to create the impression that this kind of behavior from women is acceptable, that they don't have to be accountable, that there's some kind of argument they can make to a mystical power balance wherein they no longer have agency. And even if they signed a contract that explicitly said, I agree to suck Mr. Weinstein's cock 3 times a day, I promise to swallow at least once, and if he so chooses, allow him to finish inside of me in order that I might obtain a role in his latest production, that they shouldn't be held responsible for that because, oh my God, he was just too powerful.
But why would you take down essentially the king of Hollywood?
They didn't take him down. How did they take him down? They didn't take him down, so a couple of headlines got run. Oh my God, Harvey Weinstein's a monster.
Isn't he in prison?
Even so, what? You know where he's probably in prison, in a very nice posh environment, getting catered to, and you know what? I don't know that he's in on it, but he's fine. He hasn't lost any of his power.
Get a life, Jew.
You think he's pulling an Epstein where he gets to go home in?
No, I don't, because they're overturning his conviction.
Yeah.
You see that?
All I'm saying is usually the way these things work is that you have a fall guy, like, you know, whoever, like, I don't know, pick your scandal in politics, you know. You don't take down the king.
Well, you're the one who's asserting that Weinstein is the king. I'm not asserting that. I'm just telling you that I told everyone who would listen that he was innocent, that there was no legitimacy to the charges. And in the same way that he's innocent, Donald John Trump is innocent in the whole Stormy Daniels affair. He played the game better than she did, and she's upset that she got played. So she tried to find some people who she could commiserate with to try and fabricate a story. But everybody knows that it was fabricated. Everybody knows that what happened is that Donald Trump said, "Hey, I can make you very famous. I know the best producers. They're the best for that. You could be in a movie. You could be in a movie." Anyways, my cock is it's so lonely. And she's like, "Oh, I know what that means. I'll suck your cock, and then I get to be in your movie." He never said it. He never agreed to it, but she sucked his cock, and she's like, "Now put me in your movie, Donald." He said, "I'm sorry, they're not returning my calls. I can't put you in a movie. Anyway, stop calling me, lose my number." "But I sucked your cock, Donald. I sucked your fat, fucking, disgusting, slimy cock, you bastard." And so she had to look herself in the mirror and realize she sucked that little fucking dick. That slimy little dick. And she hated herself for it. And so she's trying to get even. She got fucked. She got played. She got drunk, nigga. She thought she was gonna outfox him. She was tricked just like every other girl who goes and turns herself over to Jews in Hollywood. The limelight, the silver screen, the promises of glory that are all illusory, but only revealed after you become defiled, degenerate, addicted, and helpless. My God, it's perverse. Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. It's understood that Hollywood sells Californication.
Oh, I'm sorry, but my song was bad.
Your song is better. Nigga, you will be a fucking faggot.
Nigga, no, nigga, faggot.
I listened to it again. It's not that Oscar is singing. Oscar is just talking.
But everybody's adding it.
Seems like every time a black person talks, it's rapping.
I'm more talented. Last night, I told him, Oscar, you call yourself a fucking nigger. You're not talented. You're not a hustler. You're not a fucking athlete. So what type of fucking...
Well, he has a mugshot. He has a mugshot. He uses drugs most likely. He's got that.
It's like Molly on fucking Dr. Now.
Yeah, this picture. I love the picture that is by you, you know?
Yeah.
Do you want to see his mugshot?
Yeah, send it to me.
Do you want to see how Monica looks like? I have more pictures.
Oh, yeah. Give me the straight, don't fucking shoot this into my name, my little body.
I have so much.
Essentially, but he's a good Jew.
Well, he's a Jew consumer.
Yeah. But you are what you eat, Abby.
lot of movies. I asked if he watched it.
I'm your friend that watches movies.
He doesn't like anime.
I love that.
This is not anime.
Let's watch it together, Mercy.
Yeah.
Watch it together.
Oh my god, favorite.
I can download. Hold on. I can
You don't even have to download it. You don't even have to download it. I can give you the link. No, it's available.
I'm trying
There's available subtitles. Like, immediately level.
Alright.
You just have to have an ad blocker.
I guess I do.
Yeah. Well, you know how the streaming services work. Like, you click on it and then it, like, throws up some foreign pop-up and you gotta X that out.
Oh no.
Yeah. Horny old ladies in your locality.
Desperate freaking no. And by the way, why is Issa hanging out with fucking bears? That's what's going